Hello, folks. Tonight we're going to get into crime of a major magnitude. It's all over Canada. It's every province, every territory, and absolutely throughout the entire federal government. But I want to rewind things here because there's a lot of news stories going out now on the recorded phone call with Arthur Pulaski and absolutely Danielle Smith, that's the current Premier of Alberta. Yesterday I shot a video. I touched on some of it. I did a write up for everybody. I know people don't like to read, and I do. I read tremendous amounts. In fact, I just finished in the state of Texas, sponsored by the American government. I'm the only non-lawyer, non-justice in the world that was invited to that. Right now, I got a coded email to print off my certificate. You'll find that there's nobody else in Canada besides one woman out of Ottawa who was invited to that, and she didn't finish. I published Hector Lopez Beaufil for Alberta separatists, those seeking independence. I did it for those seeking autonomy, WIPA, Buffalo Party, all these groups and political parties in Alberta. And I offered a tremendous gift, and just like that, within days, the party I founded explodes. It explodes, implodes. Unbelievable. Right in the midst of an election period. Seems almost unbelievable, surreal, in fact. And then we have Edmonton News Group publishing Arthur's recorded conversation with Premier Danielle Smith of the time, ruining the case. It's all over the news right now, folks. And I've tagged every news company in Alberta, the main ones. I didn't hit rural, and I know there's Lethbridge and many more. I know because I went through it in the election period of 2019. I founded that party, and I want to get into Arthur Pulaski, Danielle Smith, and Rachel Notley, and a tremendous, and I repeat, a tremendous amount of corruption with the Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP. But before I do that, I want to explain something to all Canadian media, absolutely in the province of Alberta, all Albertans, and all those First Peoples in the province of Alberta, just on this story. A tremendous lie has been told to all of you, and it's exacted by all the political parties vying for the province of Alberta, the title of Premier, the crown of Alberta. And to look at just how corrupt this is, there is only one other place in the world, time in the world you can go to find the exact same sickness of government, and that's South Africa. In 1993, they were dismembered and destroyed, their elections voided, their political parties voided by the allies of World War II, and absolutely Nelson Mandela was to be freed, and he did get freed. 9-year investigation, 1984 to 1993. In that time, Canada, federally and provincially, lost itself. They rewrote the entire criminal code, going, please, 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 allies, don't dismember us like you did South Africa. To who? Their Conservative Party, their Liberal Party, their Labour Party, aka NDP. Different names, same exact designs, folks. Okay? They did that in 1985. 1993, they left the International Court of Justice. Canada removed itself from any binding authority of the ICJ and created their own. It said, look, we've built our own. We have a criminal code. Don't worry, you can trust us. We'll take care of it. Don't destroy us like you destroyed South Africa. You're going to understand why I go into this before I get into what I'm about to go through. And I'm going to give a warning right now. I'm giving a warning to Muslims, Christians, Jewish folks, and absolutely all First Peoples who believe in the Creator. All First Peoples who subscribe and believe to the Creator. It's going to get a little rough as we go through this. It may be shocking to some. I know for those who follow me, it's not too shocking. But we're going to break it down to the absolute corruption of one Rachel Notley, Danielle Smith, and Artur Pawlowski, start to finish. So, folks who don't know Artur Pawlowski, I went to Texas. I met the greatest legal minds of Poland. I reached out, asked for help. I actually wanted to do a live interview. I didn't get that, but I got a tremendous amount emailed to me and shared to me in confidence and in private. I have all that. I sat at the police station last night looking at should I go in, should I report, but the reality is it's not going to do anything because the Crown is never wrong. The Crown, from CSIS down to your municipal beat cop, has no authority to arrest any Crown, no matter how heinous, seditious, treasonous, or treacherous their crimes are. Literally, it has to be a full-on murder or something so horrendous, catching them in the act. Literally, what crimes are bestowed upon the people here in Canada under the criminal code do not fall, so many of them do not fall onto politicians. They're immune to it because they're the Crown. They decide, they give the orders. Just like Danielle Smith, who ruined the Artur Pawlowski case with her phone call, all done on purpose. And we're going to now go into all the evidence as it really is, as every Albertan and first person in Alberta needs to know. Needs to know. In 1978, folks, the country of Poland produced a UN convention for all General Assembly states to vote on. They crafted it in 1978. It was called the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. They created it, they pushed it through with full cooperation of the Protestants, not the Catholics. If you're starting to look now, when we look at Doctrine of Discovery Christians, which is all of Canada and many, many other Christian societies through the Commonwealth, and then there's Papal Bull Doctrine. That's the Spanish and Portuguese and all their colonials. Those of these two empires in time and history under Doctrine of Discovery, Papal Bull Doctrine, were deadly against Protestants. Protestants versus Catholics. We could get into Irish history. I have it all. Doesn't matter, but we're focusing on the corruption of Alberta at this particular time and what's happened to our province in the timeline. Who is Artur Pawlowski? Who is he really? He's a Protestant. He was born and raised with the 1978 UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. Do Christians, first peoples who believe in the Creator and went through residential school genocide, do you know what that convention means? It means state control over your children. If the state believes that they can educate and they can take care of their children better than the parents, they remove the rights bestowed from the Allies of World War II under the 1948 Declaration of Human Rights, where I will state now, and you can all read it for yourself, it says clearly in there, the primary source of all children's education belongs to the parents. Parental rights. It's what all our ancestors fought and died for in World War II, to end all that Nazified propagation. And if you don't know, there was Hitler Youth. He took the youth from the parents, set up a rat program of your parents talking against the state while they programmed the children in a direction. Does this sound familiar, Albertans and First Peoples? Does it sound familiar in residential school genocide? Does it feel familiar now in schools and all the complaints so many Albertans have, especially Christians, Muslims, and Jewish Albertans, those who practice Judaism? Does it sound familiar, things that bother you? Well, hang on to your seats as we go through this. Artur Arthur Pulaski, Protestant, grew up with the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, meaning for his entirety, he has always been, as all Polish have been, inside that creation where state determines the education of the children. He was born in 1971, folks. He lived in Poland for a tremendous time, came to Canada. Do you think he got involved with the Alberta Independence Party on the Lake of Fire model that he spewed out live to get thrown out of the party and destroy that party? Where do the votes go? Well, all the LGBTQ votes now go to NDP, and then the Christians, Muslims, and Jewish religious folks all head directly to UCP. Arthur gets his case ruined by the phone call made with Danielle Smith. Money exchange, not hard to figure out. If we were in a real country, this would easily be prosecutable. Now hear me out. Arthur was raised in the UN Convention long before Canada signed it. Do you know, Albertans, all First Peoples in Alberta, did you know who wrote and drafted Canada's signatory and implementation in 1993, finishing in 94, of the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child? Well, that would be our former Premier and current opposition NDP leader, Rachel Notley. Yes, she worked under the ministry. Do you know Progressive Conservatives? Before Stephen Harper changed the name to CPC for many reasons, many corruptions, just right here in Alberta. He changed the name of the party for many reasons. One of those major reasons is the deal made with Danielle Smith with Stephen Harper. They changed it. Lots of dirty laundry, all kinds of skeletons in the closet. Danielle Smith knew exactly what the PCs did when we go back to High River. She knew full well. She was Wild Rose. Remember Lake of Fire, folks? We're going back in time now. Anyone who doesn't know this, I was with Wild Rose for a very, very long time. I created the Alberta Independence Party. You're not going to pull one on me. I always save everything. We have to go back to Ralph Klein. And do you know what happened to Ralph Klein? He refused to sign the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, binding it in Alberta. Do you know why, folks? Education belongs to the provinces. You have to get a crown premier, even though Canada signed the treaty. Rachel Notley wrote it, drafted it. PCs adopted it federally. It was done under Brian Mulroney. And his minister, with Grant Notley's daughter, Rachel Notley, the lawyer, wrote it, set it all up, working directly under the minister. She was the lawyer. They did it. They came to Alberta. They said, Ralph Klein, you adopt this. And he said, over my dead body. We will not take parental rights of a child's education away from the parents and put it under state. He said no. Do you know who came to talk to Ralph Klein? The Vatican. They sent a distinguished archbishop. This is all easily searchable, folks. Ralph Klein, against his entire party, signed it. He signed it. Danielle Smith formed a Wild Rose for all the religious folks, said no way. And mysteriously, during High River, she crosses the floors to the PCs and abandons all Christian principles, all Muslim principles and all Jewish principles. Why would these conservatives, a Wild Roser, and NDP go with the progressive conservatives federally? Why? Because of residential school genocide. If they didn't sign the Convention on the Rights of a Child, Canada would be susceptible for all the children every politician voted and legislated to murder, rape, and dehumanize. The worst crime in the world that comes with the death penalty. They're all guilty. Every single one of them. Federally and provincially. Do you know who else was investigated and had the exact same outcome? My first part of this post. South Africa. All the parties. Arthur doesn't want to do his 10 years in jail. He wasn't going to do it anyway. There's no way a judge would have convicted him for that. He made a deal with Danielle Smith. They recorded that phone call. Do you think Danielle Smith's that stupid to record that phone call? Or did they all three plan it? They all three planned it. I can guarantee you, Artur Pawlowski in Poland, preaching in his Protestant, supported and grew up with the idea two men can adopt children and trans rights matter. Them, they, there, and all of their narrative. If you don't believe me, go read the Polish Constitution. In fact, go look up the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. It was written in 1978 by Poland. Arthur grew up that way. Why would he explode now? Because they've all made a deal and they're all in bed together. Of course, the government's corrupt as news media rolls out. This evidence is logged. These actions by these two premiers, one former and one current, vying for premier. You've got two radically corrupt individuals, bold-faced liars to every Christian, every Muslim, and every Jewish subject in the province of Canada. And worse, more than that, it's the grossest violation of all the First Peoples in Alberta. All the numbered treaties, all the numbered Métis, and absolutely the Inuit overlaps. 110%. They're trying to escape justice. Ralph Klein made a decision to protect his PC friends. Toe secret government lines, the Crown lines, not the lines of the split face where you see the House, the legislatures, the MPs, the House of Commons MPs. We're talking about all the tremendous autocratic Crown appointments. The appointed Privy Council, your federal cabinet. There's also provincial ministers. They're all appointed too by premiers. Extremely autocratic. We have no provincial constitutions, even though it's been called for in codified real text right out of the 1867 constitutional acts, always there forever and a day, and not one of your filthy premiers wants to enact it because we don't have property rights. Nobody does. When the Liberals said that last year, when Marcos said that last year, he wasn't lying, and neither was Trudeau. The provinces don't want you to have it. Just like they don't want any parental rights, and they want full power over the rights of your children. If it feels like communism or it feels like a fascist system, it's because it's both. That has always been the constitutional monarchies, all the colonial empires, and everything they designed. Canada is the first design. The Indian Act is the first one, as is Canada in its design. All other colonial assets came after, at least under the doctrine of discovery. American Indians were under papal bull and doctrine of discovery, the North and the South. There's so much people don't know. But how can you ever get educated? How can you ever go through it as it really is if we're never taught civics or any real history? I have to go to the highest academic institutions in the entire world, best of the best in the United States of America. All through the entire world, met so many. I'm up to 172 nations out of 193. This is true. This is real. It should be shared. The media should be going after this. They should clearly tell the truth to all Albertans and all First Peoples. But your politicians don't want to face justice. They definitely don't want to go before the allies of World War II. They left a long time ago the International Court of Justice. They will never ever bring themselves to be brought before the International Criminal Court. They've rewritten the Criminal Code 1985 right after 1984 South Africa, the decision by the UNSC P5. They literally are just a few months apart. Again in 1993 when they were dismembered and destroyed, Nelson Mandela was free. Land back for all the black South Africans who've been so badly abused through apartheid. And as bad as their stories are, and all the horrendous crimes, the First People of Canada went through it before, and certainly are going through it after, the longest running genocide in the history of the world. Legal genocide. And we don't want to look at it. Media's not going to write the story. They're not going to highlight the evil of Rachel Notley, who is no Labour Party, no Union Party leader. She is clearly in bed with the Crown. They all are. These are just illusions of democracy, illusions of a multi-party system. You will find clearly there's never been a multi-party system. Not really. Not when you start measuring the appointments. And people are waking up to it. Why would a Conservative Party appoint NDP people into the Crown positions and Liberals and vice versa and NDP too? Why would they juggle each other? Why would they work for each other in appointment, hiding in autocratic system? The other side face of what Canada really is. They act. They're actors. They say, well, then the system's corrupt. Well, guess what, news media? Of course, it's problematic corruption. You can go measure all forms of government in the world, and you will always find constitutional monarchies that have been going on forever, for 950 years, are problematic corruption. And you will find the worst examples of human misery, suffering, human rights violations, and pure, unfiltered genocide. The sickest, pervertedest extremes of mankind's dark mind. And why? Because we decided that there should be a divine set of human beings to be gods over us, the subjects and the defined savages. Defined subjects, clearly in the Constitution, and then the defined savages, those to be liquidated or assimilated into subjects themselves. What are subjects? Slaves. Canada isn't a corporation. These people who talk about trade. We are subjects or savages who are not people to be liquidated. But the subjects are slaves. Slaves to that divine first class as it's constituted forever and a day, 1867, all the way through to 1982, and the two more amendments we got since then. Smaller ones, provincial ones. All the amendments between 1867 to 1982 are all about the provinces and coming into confederation. People don't even know. How would you know? We have no civics here. You can meet supposedly the greatest minds of Canada, and they're just little cylindrical slots where people learn what the government tells them to learn. None of this stuff. Not of historical international law, binding world laws forced upon us, whether they're binding or not. And when you look at the highest level of the United Nations, those in charge of peace and security and crafting and making binding law for the whole world, you'll find hardly anything's been ratified. Only very select few things. The rest are non-binding and grotesque, sick, perverted, warped governments with delusions of grandeur. Take those out of the garbage can and tell all of you that that's international law. That's going to be the laws in Canada. Hate the UN, don't hate your corrupt, crummy politicians, provincially and federally. They're all corrupt and crummy. Legislators and parliamentarians, they make the laws. And when you, the people, will get too angry with the laws they make, you have a right to vote in the next dictator who has all the same friends on the other side and special interests around the world. That's all that distinguishes them. Because you don't matter. You won't find anyone to dispute this video. I've tagged all the media. I don't know why there isn't a massive investigation into this triage of absolute corruption. Former Premier Rachel Notley, current opposition leader running for Premier of Alberta. DANIELLE Smith, former Wild Rose leader, currently Premier of Alberta. And Arthur Pawlowski, Protestant, Polish, all under the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. If you haven't read it, folks, you should go read it. Man-on-man relations and adopting children, the whole thing that apparently people are upset about trans and being called them, they, and their, that's throughout Poland. That's been throughout Poland since the late 70s, folks. 110%. Poland doesn't have doctrine of discovery or papal bull doctrine. Zero. They were a former communist country, birthed out of imperial crown, but never in colonialism. They're a whole different thing. They left the crown and they were birthed into communism. It's a direction people take, a direction I don't want to take. But I'm not stupid enough to say that we're under communism, because we're socialist, fascist, divine socialist, fascist, as was Adolf Hitler, as was South Africa apartheid. We could go on and on. Those are just the ones I highlight that really trigger people. There are so many. There were so many. 84, in fact, that the allies of World War II had to go through and dismember and redesign and impose constitutions till democratically elected elections could occur. That's reality. You don't get that in school. You got to go out on the world stage to find that, because you'll never get it in your constitutional monarchy, and you'll never get real parental rights. And as it goes for Canada, Canada is always about church over parents, over education. Signed away a long time ago by the progressive conservatives. And Danielle Smith floor-crossed, knowing damn well what that would mean. And she abandoned her entire base. Look at her appointments for this election in UCP. She's Premier of Alberta. Look at Wong, City Centre. Mr. Head Director of the Liberal Party of Canada under Justin Trudeau. Oh, he's reformed. He's conservative. Don't worry, Albertans, it's going to be okay. These are the guys you need, right? And there's a whole boatload. Jason Kenney did it too. He raided other provinces. He parachuted in all Liberals and NDP from many provinces and put them in the Crown appointments. They all do it. We are not a true multi-party system. We're not even a true federalism. It's all a lie. We're an autocratic system that closely matches Russia. Except for at least Russia is honest about it, and at least they have regional constitutions for the 88 regions under their control today. Media, take that. Go look at the crimes of those who are fighting for office today. Arthur blew up the Alberta Independence Party so that his court case gets thrown out. That's the deal he made with Rachel Notley and Danielle Smith. And for all Alberta First Peoples, all Treaty Indians numbered, all numbered Métis in the same overlap, which is cockamamie and other bullshit by your government, and absolutely all Inuit overlapped. Rachel Notley lied to you. She is never going to free your people. She wrote, developed, and signed off the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, meaning there will never be, as long as Canada remains what it is, any justice for any murdered, missing Indigenous women and no residential school genocide. You can thank NDP Rachel Notley. She did it with Brian Mulroney's progressive conservatives because she was the one who worked for him and wrote and drafted it. She was the lawyer and his personal assistant, Grant Notley's daughter. Still believe in Labour, folks who follow me? Still believe in Conservative? Still believe in Liberal? It's an illusion. It's an illusion of a super-sized corruption that's always been here since day one. That's my video. If media can't do the real journalism and verify everything I've said easily, I don't know what to tell you, and Artur Pawlowski's criminal record stemming from Poland all the way through. Oh, and don't forget he's Protestant, and he was raised with the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child, subscribes to man-on-man adoptions of children, and subscribes to trans. Them, there, they. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just letting Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people in Alberta and all of the Creator First people know the truth. Know the truth what your government's done. Rachel Notley's corrupt and in there like a dirty shirt. Danielle Smith is corrupt and in there like a dirty shirt. These people have lied to you all. There is no left and right. There's only up and down. And they're up here in the pyramid, the elite, and we're all down here. The third-class subjects, bound to them, and those to be harvested under that, the savage peoples, defined not by me, by them from the 1876 Indian Act. And if any Albertan or Canadian across all the provinces ever wants to question it, go read the 154 pages of the Constitutional Acts of Canada consolidated on the federal government's website, Lewis and Halls. The last 3 lines on page 154. Just in case you didn't know, third last line. Oh yeah. And if you didn't understand any of this, that you don't matter, remember you're all subjects. It's ratified in the third last bullet, third last article. Read it. Learn the truth. Canada's not a corporation like people say, and I get why they think that. It's that we're subjects, we're property of the divine elite, the only people codified in the Constitutional Acts of Canada. And how countries have to trade with us, like cattle, like pork, like chicken, like fish, that's what the subjects of Canada are articulated as, legally spoke of, and it's how trading occurs. Sorry, folks, you're in slavery. That's my video. Share. Get it out there. We'll see if media does anything, but as I know, the Crown pays the media. The media hits the story, but this is all credible, real, and 110% verifiable. Thanks. Share, because 1, it's the right thing to do. 2, it's real. It's verified. Absolutely credible. Only you can change the world. People don't want to hear it. I get it. Who do you vote for? The truth is, there's nobody to vote for in Alberta. I'm sorry. And likely every other province too. All corrupted all diseased. Until a party comes before you and says, I want the power to the people. I want to codify provincial constitutions. I want to end the crown. You got nothing. You just got another liar, cheat, heavily corruptible, diseased individual. And it's just a matter of time before a sick, perverted Adolf Hitler shows up to seek his dark power of the crown and use it. And you watch what happens to any particular province or the country in a whole. We're going for it in 2025. We're going to try and take that crown and give the power to the people. We're going to show you how. And we're going to highlight and platform the entire crown shadow system. We're going to highlight in our platform. For the first time in Canadian history, we're going to teach civics to all Canadians and all First Peoples. It will be live on stage, and media will have no choice but to showcase it. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.